Damon Lindelof joins us now. Of course, I told you guys, I always book with my friends, so I feel comfortable when I come on and do the show. And Damon's going to come on right now. Hi, Damon, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you beautifully. Thank you for joining us today. I know, because wouldn't it be awful if it was like static? And
It's a new thing that we say in the pandemic. Can you hear me? Am I muted? Am I? It's a thing. So it's so nice to hear your voice.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. We wanted you to come on, or I wanted you to come on to be my handicapper for the Golden Globes, obviously because you know something about writing the greatest television in the world, both in Lost and The Leftovers, Watchmen. But before we talk TV, walk me through your childhood as a Yankees fan.
I was born in New Jersey, in northern New Jersey, just over the George Washington Bridge. So both my folks worked in Manhattan. My mom was a public school teacher in Harlem, and my dad worked for Citibank. And as you're aware, New Jersey does not have a professional baseball team. We have the New Jersey Devils, but that's about it. And so you have to choose whether you're a Mets fan or a Yankees fan. My father did not know anything about sports or care about sports. I don't think he literally knew that there were 9 innings in a baseball game. And my mom realized that this would be a deficit for a young boy growing up in the world. And so she curated sports for me and brought me to games. And the first game that she brought me to was a Yankees game. So I became enamored of the Yankees in the late 70s, which was a very exciting time to be a Yankees fan. And mostly, my gateway into the Yankees was Reggie Jackson. So I was just immensely enamored with Mr. October, and so that was the beginning of what has become a 47-year love affair with the New York Yankees. And I love the Dodgers too. I moved out to LA in the early 90s, and obviously they have Brooklyn roots, but if and when the Yankees play the Dodgers, I find myself rooting for the Yankees. So that's the long and short of it.
What's your idea of a perfect sports movie or a perfect sports show?
Oh man, well, Friday Night Lights is the gold standard. I actually have my fandom for that show is off the charts, and I talked about it obsessively over the course of the last decade, and so their art department actually heard me blathering on and on about how much I loved it. So I have a Clear Hearts, a Full Eyes Clear Hearts, Can't Lose, replica over the door to my office, and I tap it whenever I come in the morning. So I think that's the quintessential sports TV show for me. And I think like The Natural is probably my favorite sports movie. Although there's a special place in my heart for Hoosiers as well. Those are like both movies that were kind of running over and over again on HBO in the early days before, VCRs had proliferated and you would watch a movie 85 times. So I know both of those movies pretty much chapter and verse.
Emmy Award-winning writer and producer Damon Lindelof from Lost, Leftovers, Watchmen joins us now on the Rich Eisen Show. I'm Suzy Shuster, in for Rich. You and I joked around about Tom Brady and his preparation for the Super Bowl. What struck you as most interesting about the way he got ready?
Look, I mean, I'm a Jets fan as well. So from the moment that Bill Parcells left to go to New England, I hated the Patriots, and so this is nothing against Tom Brady personally because he was a Patriot for so long. And I can acknowledge that he is an incredible football player, if not the GOAT. But I do feel there's a part of me as a father that you shouldn't be able to send your children away as an excuse for excellence in any field. And so when I heard that he sent his kids packing this latest Super Bowl so that he could kind of get in the appropriate headspace to win the game, I was like, do you know what would happen to me if I said to my wife, we need to send our son away for a couple of weeks because I'm writing this episode of television and it's really important because it's a finale? Like, I kind of feel like if you have to send your kids away, you're not really that great. Like how distracting are your kids? Just tell them to keep it down a little, I guess.
Well, knowing your wife, I don't think that would be a very successful conversation, but that's neither here nor there. It was something I
Yeah.
love to say all the time.
All love for Heidi. And by the way, I don't want to be married to someone who lets me send my children away, so that I can excel.
Which is an excellent point at that. Watchmen, a lot of people are wondering why you're done. Was there any thought in your mind to come back?
No, I mean, I love Watchmen. I have loved it since the mid-'80s when it first came out as a comic book, and I think that there's now an entire generation of filmmakers and storytellers who were fans of the original, and now we kind of get to do our spin on it. And I'm a huge comic book nerd, so there's a legacy and an expectation in comic books that a writer comes in and does what's called a run, and on a character. So, someone comes in and does Batman for a year or two, and then they move on and so forth. And Alan Moore, who is the writer, and Dave Gibbons, who is the artist of Watchmen, they both did incredible runs on a number of iconic characters: Swamp Thing, Batman, Green Lantern, Superman, etc. And then they left, and then other writers came in. And so I made it pretty clear from the jump that I was, that me and my creative partners, the incredible writers and directors and storytellers on Watchmen, that we were just going to put it all into this one season. To use the sports metaphor, it's sort of like we're going all the way. We're going to leave everything on the field. We're not going to save anything for later. This is not a team building scenario where let's just go out and try to win every single game and play our best ball. And we did. By the end of that, we were exhausted, but I do feel like we crafted a season that had a beginning, middle, and end. And I've been, pretty consistent in saying now the doors to the factory are open. Anybody who wants to come in, I'll show them around and say, here's how the machinery works. But I think it would be more exciting if people came in and said, I don't want to make it in this factory. I'm kind of building my own. So my hope is that we'll all get to see more Watchmen. That it doesn't take 30 years to see more Watchmen, but I don't think it should be made by me.
But could it go on with Regina, but not with you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, why not? That's kind of up to Regina, but I do think look at the Marvel movies. Jon Favreau directed Iron Man, which was sort of like the pilot for all of those great Marvel movies, but by the time you get to Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, now the Russo brothers are directing it, and inside of there you have Ryan Coogler directing, in my opinion, probably the best Marvel movie, Black Panther, and so he has creative stewardship over that character. But this is the way that comic book storytelling works: is those actors are going to get to work with a bunch of different writers and directors. And it's their responsibility to maintain the sort of, continuity and integrity of the character as they move forward. So, Chris Nolan made a number of great Batman movies, but he's not the only one who can make Batman movies. And if Christian Bale wants to make a Batman movie with another filmmaker, he should be able to.
Damon Lindelof here on the Rich Eisen Show. Damon, what's next for you?
Well, I'm working on a couple of different TV projects at a slightly higher altitude than I'm used to, and by that I mean I'm more interested in forming creative partnerships with younger storytellers who haven't really had their chance to pilot the ship themselves. I got my first crack at running a show when I was 30 years old, and J.J. Abrams gave me that opportunity, and I kind of feel like it's my turn to return the favor. And I also feel like the older I get, the more obstinate I get or set in my ways, and the best way to shake myself out of that ridiculous notion that I know what I'm doing is to sort of learn from younger artists who are coming up in the world. So hopefully, I haven't been as productive during the pandemic as some of my peers have, or I wish that I had been, but I've got a couple of things that are moving from the back burner to the front burner. Hopefully we'll be able to announce some point in the late spring, early summer.
I love how nonchalantly you say, oh, I ran a show. It was Lost. It was amazing. It's epic. It's the source of nonstop conversation. Yesterday, Vulture came out in New York Magazine, the Vulture article about Lost, and people still get so angry about the ending. Does that still surprise you how passionate people are about the ending of Lost?
You know, it's actually really in the short term. Obviously, I had the hubris to think that I could write something that everyone would love. And over time, I've come to learn that was impossible. But more importantly, like the fact that anyone is still talking about it. The finale aired in 2010, and so the finale aired 11 years ago, and the show started in 2004, so 16, 17 years ago. The fact that anybody's talking about it at all is immensely gratifying to me, no matter what they have to say. And one of the things that I understand, to circle back to sports, is what it means to be a fan. And so I, as a Jets fan, am allowed to talk incessantly about how much the Jets, how terrible they are and how badly they suck and all the wrong decisions they're making. But I love the Jets, and I think that that's a part of fandom too. And so the idea that people didn't like the finale, but they still loved Lost, or they think that I'm a hack, but they still watched 120 hours of the show, I actually do take that warms my heart as opposed to chills it. I have a much different perspective on fandom in general than I did at the time that Lost ended. And considering there's so much incredible TV out there, not just that's on right now, but that has been made over the course of the last, 30, 40 years, the golden age of television or the new golden age of television, the fact that Lost is in the conversation, that it's remembered as opposed to faded away, I think that's pretty cool.
Speaking of Golden, what is your take on the Golden Globes? They're on NBC this Sunday at 8 Eastern Time. What has been your favorite watch this year? What are you looking at? And both, we have a minute and a half left, so we'll say both in, maybe should we say like drama and comedy, unless there's an actor or actress that you love.
First off, I just have to say that was like an A-list segue that you just did. Speaking of Golden, pivoting to the Golden Globes. I mean, Rich could never do that.
That was good, right?
Never do that.
I'm not going to lie,
he's
Don.
Good, but
I'm not going to lie. Don's in my ear, and he threw that out, so I'm going to give him credit because it was good,
all
right?
Well,
it was good.
A-list segue, very nice. Golden Globes. I mean, how much energy should we put into this? Because it's not the Oscars. It's not a jury of our peers. The Globes are coming to task for not having any members, any black members in the HFPA. Hopefully they're going to change that. So that needs to be said. But I think that in the movie category for drama, it's a duel between Trial of the Chicago 7 and Nomadland. I personally thought Nomadland was an incredibly beautiful movie. My wife and I loved it, so I think it's the best movie of the year. But I think it's going to Trial of Chicago 7 wins it, probably takes it away. And in the comedy category, it's Borat versus Hamilton. Very strange duel there. Hamilton, obviously, just a filmed version of the incredible stage play. So I can't imagine that Borat is going to win a Golden Globe, but I want to see Sacha Baron Cohen's speech, so I'm kind of rooting for it. But Hamilton's still an incredible show. And then in the actor category, I'd love to see Chadwick Boseman. Obviously, tragically lost his life this last year. I'd love him to win for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And the aforementioned Nomadland, Chloe Zhao was the director of that movie. I'd love to see her win for director. Again, it's just it's an incredible, beautiful, uplifting movie about America and the people who get left behind. But it's not a downer, and couldn't recommend it more highly.
Golden Globes, Sunday night, NBC, 8 Eastern Time. Damon, thank you for your time. Thanks for stopping by The Rich Eisen Show.
Always a pleasure. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.